All right, Drake, I know with everything that happens around Super Bowl week, it's very busy, it's super loud and noisy, so I want to start with us going to a simpler time. I want to go back to February 2016. It's you and your dad, and you're headed to a Super Bowl at Levi Stadium. Can you walk me back through the moments that led up to you attending your first Super Bowl?
The coolest part, my dad said throughout the Panthers playoffs, say, if they make it, we're going. And, I kind of was like, okay, is he really being serious? And, I remember the Panthers, I think he may beat the Cardinals or maybe the Seahawks in the NFC Championship at home. And then next thing you know, my dad booked some flights, and we didn't have tickets. My dad said he was going to buy them on the street before the game, and he bought them maybe a day before or the day of, and he got great tickets. And it was just kind of surreal as a kid, as a quarterback at the time in middle school, getting a chance to go see, the big game that you always, dream about and watching growing up. And remember we came out here and went to Warriors. I think they played the Thunder, and it was Steph Curry. Steph Curry went to Davidson. So, what a weekend for me, my dad experience, such a great, sporting events. Got to see Steph, and got to see, Peyton Manning and my favorite team at the time, the Panthers, go ahead. And I remember walking through, and they had jackets actually just like this that were like Panthers, and it had the Super Bowl logo on it. I was like, Dad, can I please get one? And he got one for me, and I used to wear it to school. And it was just one of those things that I just, appreciate, my dad for, being willing to, take one of his sons, and got lucky just to be just me out there. His other my three brothers didn't get to go, and just a father-son moment that I'll remember for the rest of my life.
It's so crazy because, Dad had to buy the sweatshirt or the jersey before, and now you've earned it. I wonder if when you were sitting there in Levi Stadium, did you have a moment of, this is where I hope to be one day? Like, did that cross your mind as a 13-year-old?
I don't know if it crossed my mind that early. I know as a young quarterback of trying to be the best I can in middle school the next year, or try to get to high school, maybe be the starter. But I wouldn't say my dream was kind of this big at the time of being kind of a reality yet. I think kind of more towards high school and college, this really became like, man, I think I maybe do something with this. But back in middle school, I was just having fun slinging the football around, and just as a fan, the game was just an awesome experience.
I usually call moments like this when it's like, oh, the first Super Bowl I went to was in Levi Stadium. The first Super Bowl I play in is 10 years later in Levi Stadium. God winks. Because you cannot make up the coincidence or the full circle moment. How would you describe what is happening here?
That's a perfect way. I think one of my favorite verses from Proverbs is, the heart of a man plans his way and the Lord establishes his steps. I think that's a great way to, put it. I think, God's, looking up there laughing like you were 13 sitting at this game, and now look at you, you're 23 playing in the game at the same stadium. I think it's kind of like you said, a full circle, surreal moment.
It's interesting because your dad is obviously a big part of that. I mean, he made it happen, and he was a quarterback too at UNC. I'm curious, number one, have you ever seen footage or film of him as a QB, and what kind of quarterback he was?
Ooh. I hear so many stories, and actually recently me and my family sat around and we watched an old game of his versus NC State, and we were just laughing. They were running it like almost every play, and maybe had a few roll-out bootlegs. But no, I know my dad had a real strong arm. He was a pretty good athlete. I don't think he ran as well as I thought he did back in the day. But no, I think I hear stories of my dad and my mom both being great athletes in Charlotte, and I look up to them for how they carry themselves and just approach sports in general. With my dad always said, he wants us to be the ones that want to be in the moment, and I think I appreciate that with how our dad pushed us to be in the spotlight and be leadership and step out of our comfort zone. But I'm sure he's a heck of a player, and I always look forward to talking about times with my dad back in the day, and just having somebody in my corner that experienced this all, and not this level, but up to college was pretty sweet.
So was he the guy in the backyard or the front yard, throwing with you, walking you through mechanics, preparing you for games?
He still is. He's still the guy in the off season. My three brothers are the ones usually spot catching. They don't run any routes, but they spot catch. So I got about 3, 6, 7 tight ends out there. My dad's the one snapping, and that's how I wouldn't like it any other way.
Now you got a full football team. That must
exactly.
be nice, right?
Pretty close.
In the backyard.
Got 3 wide receivers and a center and a quarterback.
Okay, we're not going to leave Mom out of this. What attributes do you take from her? Because I know that you say that she's the best athlete in the whole
100%.
family. She's the reason why we're here right now. So
100%.
what's the biggest athletic attribute for Mom?
Ooh, the biggest thing with my mom, I think, is the competitive side that comes out of her. I think we haven't really got to see it that much. When we're with boys growing around, she always let us kind of duel it out. But I think when you see my mom, she used to love playing golf on the golf course, or I think with my mom even cheering for us in the stands, you see her yelling and get into it with some parents. I think that side of her is something that us us sons used to be in the crowd watching our brothers, and she was the mom yelling and going back and forth with friends. You're like, come on, Mom, stop, stop. But, I think looking back at it now, like, man, my mom was dope, for her doing that. And from there, I think just my mom, how she carries herself. I think she always is on me about body language and little things about, leadership and pumping guys up. And she's great about, reminding me of my body language. And oftentimes I have my head down and she gets mad at me for. So little things like that just moms are just great at.
I'm going to remember that, though. I'm going to be like, Drake, Mom said put your head up.
Exactly.
I see you on the field.
Coach Ray will probably say the same thing.
Okay, let's talk about your brothers. I've heard you say several times they're your heroes. And so just growing up and being the youngest, were you the guy that was always trying to keep up, or were you the one that adapted? Just describe what it's like to be the youngest of four.
I think definitely trying to keep up. Just trying to keep up. My brother Bo was a year older than me, hit an early growth spurt, so they were all about 6'5". When I was in middle school, I was probably about 5'8" or 9". I hit a late growth spurt, so it was really just trying to catch up. And I think of the best thing that I say with my brothers kind of gave me was I had to chase something. They all had found a passion in life, and I was able to chase them and find a passion for myself. And ended up being football, and knowing that wasn't our purpose, but a passion in life that we could all have something in common. I think two of them chose basketball, Cole chose baseball, and look at me here, football. So we got them covered. But just having something for them to show, hey, this is what I'm putting my time to, and working my butt off to get here, and especially Luke, with his stature, and he's still playing now. So just having people to chase and look up to has been a blessing.
I want to give you each brother, and you just tell me something that you learned from them or their journey specifically.
Yeah, Luke, I think just not letting the circumstances or the work ethic get in the way of getting to what your dream was to be. He dreamed to play at North Carolina, and Coach Williams said he had a walk-on spot and a scholarship, depending on if at the time one of the players left for the draft or not. And Luke said, "I want to come regardless." And then they ended up being having some great years and some great times in North Carolina. My brother Cole, he just the biggest thing with Cole is he went to the SEC. It was a little bit different, but he wanted to play with the best. And I think that kind of learned from that with Cole. He always says SEC, it just means more. And I think us ACC brothers kind of took that a certain way. But Cole just wanted to play with the best. Won a national championship his first year, and just learning that, hey, to be the best, you got to play with the best. And then my brother Bo was just the biggest thing I learned from Bo was probably just enjoying the moments. Bo was he's a walk-on in North Carolina basketball. He was, my roommate in college, and he always, reminded me and was there in moments where he just made it more memorable. And I think that's the biggest thing from Bo is just, he's my best friend, and he's probably the closest one I am of the three brothers, but they're all my three of my best friends. But with Bo just being a year apart, he just made the moments that more memorable, and he just always was there for me and supportive.
I've seen pictures. I was going back through Luke's Instagram. I was being a stalker, I guess you can call it that.
Yeah.
But he had pictures. You guys are like, they're putting your tie on, getting ready for draft day, and like for all the biggest moments, everyone was there. And so I'm just curious what you would want them to know, or what you would want to say to them as they watch you on such a big stage on Sunday.
I think it's our stage. That's what I would tell them. It's our stage. I think it started when we were, when I probably came out of the womb from my mom, 4 boys, and it was be us versus everybody. I love them to death, and I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else. Those are my 3 best friends in life. We call 24/7. We're on FaceTime all the time, and just know that this is us. I know it's me in the spotlight, but you guys had just as big a part of that in it as I did.
What's the group chat like?
The group chat. We're probably making fun of each other. The number one thing, maybe missing a throw, or Luke the other night had 10 points, 9 rebounds. We're making fun from not getting a double-double. So, little things like that. It's just, it's always, something that we enjoy, picking on each other, but at the same time, loving each other up.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to move into football now. I would talk to you about your family the
Oh,
entire
good.
time, but let's talk about your football family. We have some videos here of teammates talking about you. We're going to start.
They're going to discuss this. That one play. She'll stop you in between.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Big Hunter Henry.
Play ping pong. That's our main competition outside of football.
Who's got the overall ping pong win?
I'm the overall for
You
sure.
got him?
Yeah. You could ask him too. I got his number on that. He just likes to swing for the fences usually. Sometimes if I'm just hitting everything back, it gets pretty frustrating.
Oh,
I get
man.
upset.
Okay, so he said we could ask you too, so
Hunter.
is he lying?
I'm not going to lie. I try to hope, my mom's always about being honest. I will say Hunter's got my number. He's got my number. We put up some good fights, but like you said, I like the big slams. And, when I'm hot, he can't mess with me, but I'm not hot very often. So Hunter, it's one of the best things we do during the week. We play on Wednesdays and Thursdays, practice days before we go out there for practice, and even times and OTAs and training camp, we're always playing, and we just enjoy competing. And I think that's one of the coolest things with teammates that there's not often times where I feel like teammates got an edge on me in something, and Hunter's one of them, so I'm just trying to chase them.
That resilient, that dog, that kind of give me country boy, going out there hooping, just giving it his all, giving it his best, and easy to rally behind. You might get a little bit of energy out of him here and there, but he has that same even kill quarterback mindset of just the next play and trying to do things the right way consistently, and his approach has always been miraculous to the game.
Powerful, right?
Steph's the man.
Mm-hmm. And that's coming from a guy that's been around this league, and he's played with a bunch of different guys. And the powerful words that he has to say about you, what does that mean to you as his teammate?
I think that means the world. Steph, at such a high level he's played at, and he's still playing at, just what he brings to the locker room, and to have somebody of his stature and what he brings to us, to have a teammate or somebody you love and care about, kind of feel the same way is special. And I think just the best thing about Steph is he's all about trust, and he always says, "Trust me," and that's the biggest thing that with teammates you can ride behind somebody who trusts each other, and he always saying, "Just trust me," and he shows up every time, and I appreciate it about Steph, and he's been so great for us this year, and such a kind of game changer on the field and really in the locker room, more importantly.
Is he right about you being a country boy hooping?
Country boy hooping. That's what I try to be. I try to play this nonchalant. He loves calling me white boy, so I try to embrace it and just be myself.
You are that, so
Exactly.
what are we going to do? Okay, one more video.
Hey, it's hard. I know. Hey, listen, look at me. It's going to be hard, but look, this will be the most rewarding 6.5 minutes of our lives if we can get it done.
Was Coach right?
Coach is right. Sitting here wearing this Super Bowl jacket, I think that was worth it. Coach is just so good at reminding me of why things are worth it and why we do things, and he's just been so good for me this year on understanding the game, but also understanding the importance of little things and just being playing the position, such a special position, and how much you really impact others and impact the team, and really just shining light on what I can do for the team and just trying to push me into that uncomfortable area, and it's been awesome for me.
Take me back to that moment. What was hard?
I think the number one thing that comes to mind is the elements. It was probably felt like 10 degrees, snow. We're slipping on the field. We were backed up inside the 5-yard line. I think coming after this possession, we had just punted, and we weren't really doing well on offense, and just up against a tough defense with our on offense. I feel like our backs are against the wall, trying to help our defense out with how well they're playing. We're trying to get something going, and we're able to make a couple game-winning plays at the end. But I think just the nature of this league, the ups and downs of it, how you feel great in one possession, the next possession you feel like, man, we left something out there, and just knowing that you got to be at your best, and it's not always going to be pretty, but I think it's worth it, and that's what this kind of reminds me of. It's worth it in the end.
Yeah. What is it that allows you to know that when things are hard, you have whatever it is, whatever it takes to get to the other side of hard?
I tell that to myself, and my teammates remind me of that. I think just believing is more than just knowing that I have it. I think believing it and knowing that you've been in this position before and you're built for it. And like my brothers and my parents used to push me towards being in that moment with the ball in your hands, with the game on the line. That's where you want to be.
I'm curious. Okay, year 2, obviously being the quarterback, leadership position. How have you as a leader evolved over the last couple of years?
Yeah, Coach Vrabel at the beginning of the year, I remember him saying, "Hey, I think you need to find a way to in your own way become more of a vocal and do something for this football team because we're going to need you." And I always used to tell him, "Coach, I feel like I need to kind of prove it on the field first and kind of not need to kind of overstep my boundaries with some of these veterans and guys that have played at a high level and guys that Milton Williams is coming onto the team who just won a Super Bowl, and you got players like Steph, who's just been a really a superstar in this league for his whole career, and just I feel like I got to prove to them that I'm worth saying something to them in the locker room and little things like that." And he said, "Well, you got to predict that's going to happen and just start doing it now." And Coach Vrabel's been so good with leadership and little things here or there about what I could do to help maybe this position group or help the O-line or help the receivers, and just trying to be myself. That's the best thing Coach Vrabel's kind of kept me. Just be myself. Just find your own way, and show a little bit. Steph mentioned a little bit of different side of me, in the huddle sometimes when we need a first down to go to the Super Bowl. I think I'm willing to do whatever it takes and show that different side to me, but at the same time, try to keep it, myself and being that even keel.
Okay, with one game left, do you feel like you've shown, proven, or earned that same right that Vrabel was trying to give you at the beginning of the season, the right to be vocal and be the leader of the team?
I would think so. I'd hope my teammates would think that. I think that is a question you have to ask them, but I feel like that, and my confidence in being a leader and speaking up when I need to is there, and I'm not willing to shy away from it, especially in the big game.
Okay, at what point during this season did you guys realize, not a 4-win team from a season ago, that's all past, we're real contenders. We could end up playing in the last game of the season. Was it week 5, you beat Buffalo in prime time? Like, I'm just curious, was there a moment, was it the plane ride home after you win the AFC? Like, I would like to know.
I think it's got to be that week 5 Buffalo game. In Buffalo, they were on a big home win streak. It's tough to play there. It's a division opponent. We had this kind of motto we were following as Road Warriors, and we started it in Miami, 2 weeks before, and then we were going to Buffalo, and we were like, maybe 3 weeks before in Miami, but we were like, this is a test. See where we're at. And remember, Coach, you said you want to play with the best, you gotta show them. And I think having that exhaustion in the locker room after the win, it wasn't even really excitement. It was more like, whew, that took a lot. I think from that moment on, you could kind of see the guys rally around each other, rally around Coach, and just loved being there and loved moments like that, because that's what makes this game worth it.
I think it's so interesting that you're the youngest of 4, could be the youngest quarterback, to win a Super Bowl. It sounds like you've been training for this your whole entire life. But just how does it feel to be living in this moment and being the age that you are and having the responsibility that you have?
Yeah, I try not to put age into it. I think just such a fortunate position I'm in. Hopefully, the stats and all the age, hopefully down the road will become the oldest one that's playing down the road. I think just trying to play for as long as I can at a high level and do whatever I can to help my team win. But I think not putting the kind of the respect or the appreciation for being in the game at such a young age. These guys in the locker room talk about, I've been in the league 10 years. Morgan Moses 14. That's I've never made it this far. Barely even won a playoff game, and now we're got a chance to take advantage of this opportunity of winning the Super Bowl, and me especially at my age, just don't take that for granted. And those guys do a great job of reminding the rookies. Will Campbell and Travion just won national champion. Now he's playing for a Super Bowl. He's not doing too shabby, but reminding those guys that it's not every year that this happens. Just put your all towards it.
Okay, I can't let you leave here without asking you about Michael Maye. I actually follow her,
Oh,
so
man.
I'm gonna try to make. There's like a cinnamon roll snickerdoodle cookie.
Oh yes, bomb. I brought it into the O-line this week. My favorite.
That's your favorite?
Favorite.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Favorite. Easy favorite. So.
And do you ever help?
Do I ever help? Yeah, I'm the cameraman sometimes if she needs it, but no, I don't. I'm the tester, and it's I usually go for a couple more. So I love being the taste tester, and that's my favorite part.
And it's been fun. Have you enjoyed watching her flourish, basically under the spotlight, and all the love that she's been getting?
It's been one of the coolest things for me to see and be a part of. Getting a chance to, be beside her and kind of have a two-way street. She's support me at games, and I'm able to sit back and watch her just be herself. That's what I'm so proud of her for, just being herself and being authentic. And I think that's what people love her for. And we can't wait to see what kind of the future holds. But I think we're just trying to enjoy these moments right now because we know they're special.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.